What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. I want to talk about JJ Redick and the state of sports media. So the backstory here, for those of you guys who missed it, JJ Redick criticized Doc Rivers on, I think, Monday or Tuesday because Doc won't stop criticizing his players, even though he's got his own set of issues. I didn't have any problem with that criticism. Honestly, it's like nice to see players be authentic, honestly, because like so many former players get out and they, are just always on the defensive of NBA players or NBA coaches, and they kind of just take the company line on everything. And so I appreciated the authenticity in that situation, right? But then JJ came on the next day on First Take, and he talks about how fans don't want to be educated about basketball. And he provided an example. And he basically said, I did a deep dive on Zion Williamson and him being on the ball more. Those of you guys who listen to this show, we did a similar conversation, not as deep, but we had a conversation about the Pelicans and Zion playing better, being on the ball more, and generating closeout opportunities for the Pelicans off-ball players or perimeter players and how they've been really killing teams with that. JJ did a far more in-depth version of that, where he talked about specific actions that the Pelicans are using, namely empty corner pick and rolls with Jonas Valanciunas, and just in general, like transition pushes and sweeping drives from Zion. Ghost screens, too, with guys like Trey Murphy and stuff like that. Really, really well done by JJ Redick. I want to be clear. This is my disclaimer. I think JJ Redick is the very best in the world at what he does. He's someone that I look up to a lot, someone I strive to be like. He's a hard worker. He's super knowledgeable. He's an excellent communicator. He brings that former NBA player perspective. He's awesome with interviews, color commentary, studio shows, everything. I think he's the best. But I disagree with his take about the current state of sports media. So I wanted to talk about it for a second. First of all, I am super optimistic about the current state of sports media. The ecosystem and the tools that we have at our disposal are incredible. You can, these days, if you have a MacBook and an iPhone, due to, I think it's called like, I can't remember what the technology is called from Apple, but you can actually use your iPhone as a webcam now. That's what I do when I travel. When I go on ski trips with my wife or whatever the hell I'm doing, I set up my phone and I can make a high quality video on the road with a little handheld microphone that I got on Amazon that I think was like $20-30 a long time ago. Like, then I got that one before I even started working with the volume. Like, it is easy to come up with the equipment to make quality content now. In addition to that, you can distribute it extremely easily between free tools like YouTube, social media, and the algorithms that are behind that. The algorithms that promote content based on watch time. As a result, we have a ton of options. We have incredible team-specific pods, national pods, draft guys, film guys, CBA guys, like you name it. We have everything under the sun now. Like, if you go back like 10 years, think about the kind of niche basketball analysis that was available 5-10 years ago versus now. It is skyrocketing. I am so optimistic about the state of sports media. But the take JJ had, he said, when I made that Zion Williamson video, it only got 54,000 views. When I criticized my former head coach, it went viral and had tens of millions of impressions. This is where I think we have to be realistic. I think it's unrealistic to expect a ton of engagement from niche content like that, like the Zion video. Like a guy like me is going to be super interested in a video like that. All of you guys who listen to the show, you're going to be super interested in something like that. But there's no doubt that like shorter attention span type of content, that sort of thing is going to perform better in the masses. Like lower brow, or low brow is probably not the way to phrase it, but like more surface level content is easier to digest by the masses. It's no different than like if I was talking to my wife about the Grateful Dead and she's like, I like Scarlet Begonias. That's a cool song. And then I was like, well, let me talk to you about the chord progression of this song and then the differences between, this tour versus last tour and the tone that John Mayer was using and the kind of like vibe that he's going with the way he's playing over it and like the way that they use Jeff Chimenti as the piano player in Franklin's Tower now versus like I can get into the weeds about that shit. Carly's not going to care. Why would she? She just doesn't care about that, right? Like there's different levels of interest in this kind of thing. There are basketball fans that get invested in the playoffs and will turn on a broadcast and they'll watch superstars play. And then there are basketball fans that want to get in the weeds. And so to me, like, I don't necessarily understand the comparison there. Like JJ Redick criticizing his coach on First Take, or I don't even remember which platform he originally did it on, but that being talked about is going to be a significantly larger, audience that's going to be interested in it. Like I could get, let's invent a fictitious person that's the very best basketball analysis analyst in the history of mankind, and give him all of the top of the line, production tools that are available to him, and give him, the world's biggest YouTube channel to post it on. Post it on freaking, I don't know what, Mr. Beast's channel or something like that, and pretend all of them are basketball or people that are interested in sports in some way, shape, or form. If he did the Zion Williamson video and posted it there, it's not going to perform as well as some surface level content. That's just the reality. So that is where I think we have to be more realistic. That doesn't mean we can't be better. And I do think that what JJ's getting at in the big picture is important. I think specifically game broadcasts, we can get so much better. It's so much more important for the color commentators that are on those broadcasts to be able to actually explain to fans what are happening on the court. JJ Redick does a great job of this. Stan Van Gundy does a great job of this. Even local guys, like one of my favorites on League Pass is Antonio Daniels, who covers the Pelicans. I think he does such a good job of breaking down some of the X's and O's stuff that is happening on the floor. But why do I care about broadcasts? Because broadcasts are where we go to get the games. Everything else, you can go where you want. Like, I never have understood people who complain about First Take and it being like surface level. Why are you watching it then? Like, who's making you turn on ESPN? I haven't watched live First Take in, I think it's been 10 years. I'm not interested in it. So when I want to watch a piece of sports media content, I personally like in-depth basketball analysis. I like to learn from in-depth. I like to learn from other basketball minds. And so I will try to find a team-specific pod or a national pod that I like. And I'll find a guy whose opinion and basketball intellect I respect, and I will listen to that person. If you're choosing to listen to ESPN and you don't like ESPN, that's a you problem. But game broadcasts, they're where we go to watch the NBA. That's where I think we need to do better. More guys doing color commentary, like the guys I mentioned, that primarily focus on explaining to fans what is happening on the court. A big one to me too is studio shows, pregame, halftime, postgame shows. I'd love to see better panelists that do a better job of explaining the X's and O's to the fans that are watching the games. Way too often between color commentary and studio shows, we get surface level analysis. And here's the thing: shows like Inside the NBA, they're legendary in the industry. That's a huge part of me growing up as a basketball fan. But it's not exactly the most tactically proficient show out there, right? And I think it would be beneficial for basketball fandom, or whatever you want to call it, to have better game breakdowns and explanations of the tactics in those settings, because I think we can make smarter casual fans that way. But to me, I don't understand how First Take to me has nothing to do with the realm of basketball analysis. It's there for their audience. My show's here for my audience. JJ's show is there for his audience. You can go where you want to go. There's no reason to watch a show that you don't want to watch anymore. And then again, at the end here, viewership tells us that there are topics that have large audiences and there are topics that have smaller audiences. At the end of the day, this is a business. I talk about this on my show. It's a big part of how this show is structured. I'll get in the weeds, but you bet your ass if there's a LeBron topic, I'm going to hit it. You bet your ass if there's a Steph topic, I'm going to hit it. You bet your ass I'm going to cover the major markets. Why? Because I'm competitive and I want to win. I want this show to be the best. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I do both. If I bring the in-depth niche stuff and I make sure that I hit bigger picture topics. And I don't think it's fair or realistic to pretend like we're above the bigger picture topics. I still remember even when I was younger, when I was playing basketball in college, like after practice, before practice, on the bus, you don't think we're having First Take style debates about LeBron versus MJ or stuff like that. That's also an important part of the sports media space. That's never going away. Will it shift a little bit? Will debate shows get a little smaller or maybe a little bigger? Who knows? Like, yeah, there'll be shifts, but there's always going to be a spot in sports media for that kind of thing. That's an important part of the business. And I'm thankful that we have a format here where we can do both. No one's stopping me from spending 15 minutes talking about this because I have the freedom to do so thanks to this new ecosystem. 15 years ago, if I happened to be working at a television company, I'd have timelines and I have to be out by this commercial break. And like you bet, like I might only have 30 minutes in a show or 1 hour in a show minus commercial time to figure out how to fit everything. And I might have to be way more picky and I might have to focus on some. No, I don't have that problem anymore. If I want to tell Paul's our lead producer now. If I wanted to tell him on Sunday, like I want to do 20 minutes on, some random college basketball game, they're not going to stop me from doing that. I can do that now. That's a beautiful part of the way the sports media space has changed. I think it's better than ever. I'm super, super optimistic about it. And I don't have any problem at all with folks who make a living on more of the surface level stuff. It's an important part of the space. If they can retain an audience and make money on it, good for them. I don't have any problem with that. And I think a lot of those people are super, 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 super talented. Guys like Stephen A. Smith, guys like Shannon Sharp, they are incredible talents. And I don't believe in minimizing that necessarily. Here's the bottom line. I think JJ's very good for sports media and basketball media in general. And I think he is one of the guys that's going to help address some of those problems that I talked about earlier. But debate shows and surface level content, they have a place too. You can choose what you want to watch. And this is where like Nick Wright kind of went after JJ on Twitter and was and kind of pointing out some of some similar things to what I was talking about. And one of the things he said that I thought was a good point is he goes, why would you go on First Take? Take the check, like take the payment, agree to be on the show, and then be critical of the show. That I don't understand. Because like that's literally what that space is. Nobody turns on First Take expecting Zion Williamson film breakdowns. That's an unrealistic expectation, right? And so I guess like what I'm trying to say is like I'm a big believer in like the core belief system that's driving JJ in this endeavor. I just don't necessarily think it has anything to do with First Take at all whatsoever. To me, like JJ has an opportunity to improve some specific areas of basketball media for the better. And I think those conversations are worth having, but I'm not a big believer in being critical of people who just do a different kind of sports media, because that's what they do. They're just a different kind of sports media. I remember a while back, this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll get out of here. I was talking about a fan base, and this was years ago. This was like, I want to say like 2018. It was well before I was even doing podcasts. And I was being critical of some fan, I think. And then Sam Esfandiari, who's become a friend of mine, pointed out about how pointless it is to be fan police. Because why would I think that like my version of being a sports fan is the right way to be a sports fan? It's just not. That's ridiculous. There's so many different ways to be a sports fan. You can be passionate. You can be vocal. You can be quiet. You can be a content creator. You can be a content consumer. There's like a million different ways to be a fan. Why would I act like my way is the only way to do it, or that there's a wrong way to be a fan? The only wrong way to be a fan is to be violent or abusive, right? Like that stupid couple who called KD a bitch and then tried to be nice to his face right after. Like, I have no respect for that shit. But like, there is no wrong way to be a fan. But I feel the same way about sports media and media in general. I don't want to play media police. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. This ecosystem allows everybody to do it their own way. It's been so good for the space. We have so much better content as a result. I'm a huge fan of the direction we're going. And as I said, I am an optimist about where we're headed.